Double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone, the men whom I've learned this truth from. Shalom and salutations to the elect that's out there preaching this word in truth and sincerity. I am the brother Shaquat, and I'm one of the brothers from the branch of Great Millstone, Montreal, back with another lesson. And this lesson that I will be getting into today will be a quick hit. It's going to be a quick lesson. Lord willing, will be straight to the point. But Lord willing, is still edifying. All right. So this lesson that I wanted to go into today is going to be dealing with, our experiences. You know, because being a man of the Lord, a man that's in this truth, the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, um, right, called you into this truth. Matter of fact, let me start with that. Matthew 22 and verse 14 says, "For many are called, but few are chosen." Right, and right, the scriptures also say this. Uh, this is Matthew 4. Nope, Salakia. Matthew 13 and verse 47. It says, "Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea and gathered of every kind." Right. So that's what this truth. That's what is synonymous with this truth. Right. It's like a net that was cast into the sea. The sea symbolizing the people. Right. Um, right. And it gathered of every kind. Right. So when this truth is preached, um, it brings in or a lot of different kinds of fish, which is symbolic to the people as well, are caught up in that net and brought to shore, so to speak, right? And there's all kinds of fishes, all sorts of different fishes, which is many, right? You have good fishes, bad fishes, so on and so forth, right? It's verse 48, which when it was full, they drew to shore and sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away, right? So again, many are called, that's symbolic to those, the abundance of fishes, right? All sorts of fishes. But guess what? There's good and bad, right? But the goods, you what? You put into a vessel, right? But the bad you cast out. So many brothers are called into this truth, right? But you just have to pray to Yahweh Shemashai that you are chosen, right? And being in this truth, being called into this truth, you go through experiences, man. You go through things, you go through different things. The Lord brings you through different things, right? And that's Rock the second chapter. And those different things, right? Um, if the Lord is really dealing with you, right? When you speak about the parable of the seeds being planted as well, right? Where there's different sorts of uh there's different sorts of paths that different spirits take, right? When on this journey in this truth, right? You have some that might endure for a moment, and then affliction and persecution might arise, and guess what? They get offended at that, and they don't want to continue the path anymore, right? But that's them being casted out, right? That's them being weeded out. You don't want to be like that, man. You don't want to be like that, right? You know, um, and you also have some that are in the truth for the wrong reasons. They might last for a long time, super long time, but guess what? The spirit is not right. But you don't want to be like that, right? Moral of the story is like you go through different experiences. You might also lose your car, lose a family, lose so on and so forth, right? That's another path, or that's a path a brother might take. Loses a lot of things, right? But if that brother stays strong and keeps trusting in Yahweh Shemashai, then guess what? He's most likely, or he has high chances of being chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen, right? But the different experiences you do go through, you could use those, and even in the world, right? Being in the world, right? Those different experiences that you've gone through, you could use those to do lessons that you can edify with. You could use those lessons to edify. Those experiences. That's what they're for. That's what experiences are for. That's what things that you go through are for, are supposed to be talked about, right? Obviously, there's certain things that you keep, to yourself. But I mean, for the most part, the different experiences you go through, it's all right to talk about, because guess what? That could actually edify and build up a brother, right? A brother might be able to resonate with it and be like, "Yo, hey, wait, I went through a similar thing like that, but I actually approached it differently, right?" But that's what it is, right? And that makes the work of Yahweh Shemashai easier. It makes the doing the work of Yahweh Shemashai easier, because you're talking about things that are real, things that you went through, right? You're not fighting to try to come up with or how do I say this? But you just talk about what you know, right? That's what the apostles often say. Just talk about, stick to what you know. It makes things a whole lot easier. Don't try to go outside of uh your repertoire, right? And this is for myself first and foremost, right? But it's important to stick to what you know and be repetitious in what you know. Um, Matter of fact, let me get a preset. This is for myself first and foremost, by the way. Um, Seek not high. Seek not Salakia. Bear with me. I know it's in the Apocrypha. Uh, yep, Sirach 3 and verse 21. It says, "Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search the things that are above thy strength." There you go, right? So certain things that are out of your strength, right? An example I could bring, right? It's just, and I'm still fairly new in this truth, right? But the very beginning stages, but I was trying to dig in too deep, right? Trying to get into Daniel. Um, Daniel, I believe that's the 11th chapter, right? Let me see. Daniel, right? And that's deep history. Wait, is it Daniel 11 or Daniel 10? My father, in the first year of Darius, me, I stood and confirmed, show you the truth. Yep, Daniel 11, man. Which is deep, 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 deep history, right? But you can't really digest that when you first come into the truth. But I was, you know, I guess it was like I was trying to go in, because yeah, I wanted to know it. I was like, but that hey, bro, scripture speak about the milk. Deal with the milk first. But you can't skip stages. You can't skip steps, right? Master the basics, and then you can move on to the milk, right? It's like master the milk, which are the basics, and then you can move on to the meat. Is what I wanted to say, right? But yeah, sticking to what you know, right, and not trying to go outside of your um uh your stratosphere, right? So let's go from there. Mm, this is the book of Luke 22 and verse 31. And the Lord said, "Simon, Simon, behold, Satan had desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for thee, that thy faith fail not. And when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren." Right? You know. So an example that the brother Mahaya often brings out, right, is how that the Lord pretty much put, he put him on game, that he prayed for him for strength, right? That Satan doesn't sift them. And he said, when you are converted, strengthen your brethren. So when you go through, when you get over that hump, pretty much, right? Make sure to edify your brothers and strengthen them as well. Make sure they can get over that hump as well. And how did Peter do that? By talking about it, by encouraging them, and edifying them, uplifting them, and being like, yo. And he literally did that, right? Like the brother Mahaya always says. This is Second Peter 1 and 10. So Second Peter 1 and to end. It says, wherefore the rather, no, that's not it. Wait, I pray for the. So, okay, bear with me. First Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant, be on point. This is Peter, right? Because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. Whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world, right? So Peter took Yahushua's advice and told, the brethren about his experience with Satan. He told them, yo, be sober, be vigilant, because, be on point, because as a roaring lion, Satan is walking about seeking whom he may devour. But be on point, right? And you'll be able to resist him, and he's gonna flee, all right? Because Peter, he did that, he went through that experience of doing that. So he used that experience and talked about it to encourage others, right? And we are to do the same. So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying. I'd like to say all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim HaKadosh. Once again, double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Until next time, Shalom.